All right, guys, are there any questions on the homework assignment from yesterday? Questions on the homework assignment from yesterday? What we're looking at today is going to be very similar, almost the exact same thing we did yesterday. There's only one main change. Because all the factoring that we did yesterday, A was equal to 1. There was one main problem that we did that didn't have A equal to 1 at the start, but we had a greatest common factor, which factored out, making it 1. And so what we're doing today is A is going to be different than 1. And what we're talking about is really dealing with our AX squared plus BX plus C. So we're talking about the number in front of X squared. All the problems that we did yesterday, the number in front of X squared was 1, which kind of makes it a little bit easier to work with. The ones that we'll be dealing with today, A is not going to be 1. So there could be a greatest common factor, but the term in front of X squared or N squared or whatever the variable squared is will not simplify out completely. So when we look at this first one here, X squared minus 31X minus 20. The first thing we look at, just like yesterday, to see if there is a greatest common factor, guys, between these three terms here. So we're looking at 7x squared, 31x, and 20. We're trying to see if there's a number that will go into all three terms. And there's not one. There's not a number that will go into all three. So we can go on to our second step, our two sets of parentheses with three spaces. So that takes care of steps 1 and 2. Step number 3 is to find the signs. If the third term is positive, then the signs are the same and they match the sign of the middle term. If the third term is negative, our signs are opposite. Well, here the third term is negative, so our signs are going to be opposite. One's going to be positive and one is negative. And at this point here, it doesn't matter which one's positive, which one's negative. We just need to plug them in. Now that does bring us to our third step, finding the factors of the first and third term. Now the first term's a little nice here because factors of x squared are going to be x and x. And if we go through all the factors of 7 is, well, just 1 and 7. So we need to plug 7 in one of the two spots. We can go on and just plug it into the first spot, and that will work out just fine. Now we need to find the factors of the third term, factors of 20. Well, our factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. So we have these three sets of factors here. We do need to pick which one of these that we want to use or try first. Which one of these do we want to try first? 4 and 5. And we can just plug it in, 4 and 5, and then check it. Because that's going to be the last main step for all these here, is checking to see if we got it correct. So we can do 7x times negative 5, which is going to be negative 35x. Positive 4 times x is going to be plus 4x. And negative 35x plus 4x is negative 31x. Is that the middle term that we wanted? So these here are the correct factors. Any questions on this here? Now on a whole, this isn't really any different than what we did yesterday. It's just this time, in our first two spots here, we have a number with x. It's not just x and x or n and n. The variable isn't by itself. Any questions on what we've done so far? Let's look at the next one here. 2b squared plus 17b plus 21. And again, the first thing we'll look for is a greatest common factor. is there a number or a variable or both that will go into all three terms? Because 2b squared, so the number in front of b squared is 2. So if there's going to be one, it has to be divisible by 2, and all three don't. So this one here does not have a greatest common factor. So we can move to our two sets of parentheses with three spaces. Find the sign. So if the third term is positive, the signs are the same and they match the sign of the middle term. So here third term is positive, so they're both the same and match the sign of the middle term, which is also positive. So we have plus and plus. Questions on this so far? Now we need to find the factors of the first and third term. 2b squared and 21. Well, factors of b squared are going to be b and b. Factors of 2 are 2 and 1. Because whenever we only have a single set of factors, there's only one set of them, just go on and plug them in. We don't even have to list them out. Now 21, on the other hand, has 1 and 21 or 3 and 7. We have two different ones we could use. So those, when we have more than one, it's good to list them out so we can see them and go through and check them out. Any questions? Leah, you have a question? Let's focus up here. Now, out of these two here, which ones do we want to try first? 3 and 7, which one should go with the 2b? 3 and 7. Again, the last thing we can do is check it and make sure that this works. 2b times 7 is 14b. 3 times b is going to be plus 3b, which gives us a total of positive 17b, which is exactly what we want. So these here are the correct factors. Any questions on any of this here so far? Be ready for the next one. So we'll look at this one here and then move on to the other types that we have. Now, when we look at this one here, is there a greatest common factor between these three terms? Is there a number that will go into all three? Because 7 does go into 7x squared and 7 does go into 28. The question is, will 7 go into 45? 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 6 is 42. So it is close, but it's in between them. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It would be nice if 7 did go into all three, because it would make the numbers a little bit easier to work with. But since it doesn't, we can't factor anything out, because we don't want to factor a number out and get a decimal in the middle. Now we look at the signs. The third term is negative, so the signs are opposite. One's going to be positive, one is going to be negative. If the third term is positive, the signs are the same and they match the sign of the middle term. If the third term is negative, our signs are opposite. Now we're going to look at the factors of the first and third terms. Well, for the first terms, we know we will have x and x. Factors of 7 are 7 and 1. So at this point here, it really doesn't matter where we put it. I'm just going to put it in the first one, and we can go from there. Now the factors of 28 are 1 and 28, 2 and 14. This is 3 a factor. Is 4 a factor? Well, 2 and 14, yes. Is 14 divisible by 2? So most likely 4 would work. It would be 4 and. Just manipulating the factors we already have. And that's going to be it, because 5 doesn't work and 6 doesn't work. So we have these 3 here, yes? Which one do we want to try first? 4 and 7. Now I'm going to write this one down. Why can I not set it up this way here? Right, 7x plus 7 has a greatest common factor, yes? Well, if a greatest common factor shows up in one of the parentheses, it means the original one had to have a greatest common factor as well, yes? So that doesn't work, which is kind of helpful, because what that tells me in this spot here, I can't have 7, 14, or 28. There's 6 possible arrangements with this here, where I can put each one of the factors of 28, yes? Because each one of these here has 3 different ways we can plug it in. But what did we do with 3 of them? They are gone, because 7, 14, and 28 can't go there. So if we wanted to use 4 and 7, erase that. This would have to be 4, and this would have to be 7. And we can check this here. (7x times -7 is negative. Positive 4 times x is plus. Is negative 45x what we wanted? So these here are the correct factors. Questions on any of this here? Do we feel pretty comfortable with these here?
May I have your attention, please? Will Damien Andrews please come to the office? Thank you.
So looking at the next 3, is there any one of those that we want to look at? Or do y'all feel comfortable with these here? This one? We can look at this one here, because this one here, kind of like one of the ones from last night's homework, are m squared plus m minus 90. It seems like it's not going to work. Yes? And again, if we wanted to, we could use our square root, kind of the check method, to make sure that it works. B squared minus 4 times 10 times -9. It gives us a 91, the whole number. Really, this again, from what we did yesterday, just to make sure that it does factor. Our square root of b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so that does tell us that it works. Now we need to see, is there a greatest common factor? Well, no. 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. Now we find our signs. Since the third term is negative, our signs are opposite. One's going to be positive, one is going to be negative. Factors of the first and third term. Well, we'll definitely have m and m. The only way we can get m squared. Now the factors of 10 are 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. We also have the factors of 9, which are 1 and 9, or 3 and 3. Which factors of 10 do we want to try first? 1 and 10. Because our number that we're going to get is pretty big, yes? I'm just going to put the 10 here. Now for 9, do we want to try 1 and 9 or 3 and 3? Where do we want to put the 1 and where do we want to put the 9? 1 with the 10. And if we check this here, 10m times -9 is -90m. 1 times n is plus m, which gives us -89m. Is that what we wanted? Well, no. We could almost say halfway, isn't it? Is it the correct number? Is it the wrong sign? So if we get the correct number but wrong sign, we flip the signs. We can make the first one negative and the second one positive. Luckily enough, changing a negative to a positive is pretty easy. We just add a line. We just have to fix the positive case. Because if we check this again, 10m times +9 is 90m. -1 times n is -m. which gives us a positive 89m. So if we get the correct number but wrong sign, we just have to flip the signs. And these here are the correct factors. Any other questions on this here? All right. Let's look at this one here. 28 n to the fourth plus 16 n to the third minus 80 n squared. So this is something we haven't seen so far. But let's start off with our first main step. Is there a greatest common factor between these three terms? 2? Right. So we could say 2, and we'll get to 4 here in a second. Because with some of these here, starting out with one that we know for sure, 2 will work, yes? And we also have what? N, let me write, n squared, because n to the fourth, n to the third, n squared. They all have at least 2, yes? So we can pull it out. Now if we factor 2, or divide 2 out of 28, we get 14. N to the fourth divided by n squared, we take 2 away. We have n squared plus 16 divided by 2 is n, because if we have 3 and take 2 away, we only have 1 left, minus 80 divided by 2 is, and n squared divided by n squared, simplify it out, just 1. 40 times 1 is just 40, yes? So we could see 2 pretty easily, yes, with the first starting one. Is there a greatest common factor still left? 2. So I could do it again. 2 times 2, because when we factor it out, we're really multiplying it with the numbers in front of it. And we'll divide them all by 2 again, 7n squared plus 4n minus 20. Just because we don't see the greatest common factor at first, if we do see at least 1, pull it out and we can recheck it. Most of the time we do see it at the beginning, and we can pull it out pretty easily. Sometimes, especially if it's, say, 6 or 9 or 20, like some of those odd ones, it's hard to see it at the beginning. But we can pull it out in 2 steps. Now, the numbers in front will multiply together, giving us 4n squared, like we were saying at the beginning. But that is the last greatest common factor, mainly because the middle term is 4 and the first one is 7. 7's prime. We can't go any lower. Now, since the third term inside the parentheses is negative, our signs are going to be opposite. One's positive, one's negative. Now we need to find the factors of the first and third terms. Well, we'll have n and n. And I'll plug the 7 in one of the spots. Did y'all plug it in the first one? Yeah. Now we need to find the factors of 20. We have 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Which one do we want to try first? 2 and 10, like this here. We can check and see. 7n times negative 10 is negative 70n. 2 times n is plus 2n, which gives us a negative 68n. A little off. So we can switch the 2 and 10 and see if that changes anything. Ten, 2. And we can check it again. 7n times negative 2 is negative 14n. 10 times n is going to be plus 10n, which is negative 4n. Is that what we wanted? Correct number, but wrong sign. So we just need to flip the signs. Which will tell us this time 7n times 2 is going to be positive 14n. Negative 10 times n is negative 10n. which does give us our positive 4n. And again, just as a reminder, we still need that greatest common factor as part of our answer. 4n squared. Questions on this here? Any questions on anything we've done so far? Okay. This one here will be the last one we look at, because the other one is just the same as it. So it really doesn't add anything or make it any clearer than this one here. Now, if we look at these three terms, is there a greatest common factor between them? Because we have 30n squared b, 87n b, and 30b. Well, there is one variable across all three, yes? All three have what? They all three have a variable of b, yes? We can pull it out. All three don't have n. We have n squared n and a term without n, so it can't be affected. Is there a number that goes into 30, 87, and 30? What number will go into 30 and 30 for sure? 3, 10, 5, and 6, yes? 3, 5, 6, and 10. Well, 10 doesn't go into 87. We can say that for sure, yes? Well, we know 5 doesn't work because it doesn't end in a 5 or 0. 6 doesn't work because it's not divisible by 2. But is 87 divisible by 3? What's 8 plus 7? 8 plus 7 is 15 divisible by 3. So 87 is also. Because for any number, to check divisibility of 3, add the digits together, and if that number is divisible by 3, then the original number is also. So all three of these terms are divisible by 3. And if we divide 30 by 3, we get 10. We still have the n squared, but the b simplifies out completely. Minus 29. 87 divided by 3 is 29. N, the b simplifies out completely. Plus 10. 30 divided by 3 is 10. B divided by b is 1. So we're just left with 10. Any questions on this so far? So our answer will still have 3b. We have our two sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. Now we find the signs. For us, the third term is positive 10. So our signs are the same and they match the sign of the middle term, which would be negative and negative. Now we find the factors of the first and third term. Well, factors of n squared are n and n. Well, for the first term's numbers, well, we have factors of 10, which are 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. Our third term's factors are 10, which is 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. Okay. So picking for the first term, the one that's going to go with n, do we want to try 1 and 10 first, or 2 and 5? 2 and 5. We just need to pick one to use. 2 and 5. Now, there's 4 different arrangements we can go from here, because we can do 1 and 10 or 10 and 1, 2 and 5 or 5 and 2. One of them, get the other color back out. Why will 1 and 10 not work? Because 2n minus 1 is 5, yeah? Fine, yes? How about 5n minus 10? 5n and 10 have a greatest common factor of 5, yes? So I can't put those together. If I switch it, 2n and 10 have a greatest common factor of So we can use 2 and 5 also, yes? But I can't put the 2's together and I can't put the 5's together. So the only way that would work is if we had it this way here, yes? So there was 4 arrangements that we could have tried, yes? But 3 out of the 4 we know didn't work already because all 3 of those had a greatest common factor of some kind, yes? So instead of trying it 4 different ways, we only have to try it just one. So seeing some of those helps. 2n times negative 2 is negative 4n. Negative 5 times 5n is negative 25n. Negative 4n minus 25n is negative 29. Is that the middle term we wanted? And that's it. Questions on any of these here? And that's it.